You know who can be the second Red Bull driver who can bring in points consistently in a terrible car? Nico Hulkenberg.
Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel, your favorite pitfall party after every Grand Prix. What a Canadian Grand Prix that was. Well, if you decided to sleep at around lap 60, you missed some crazy drama, and that's why we are here to tell you more about what all happened in this race. But before we do that, we have got a special video coming later this week. The one where we debated which F1 drivers deserved more titles. And trust me, it was as spicy as these last 5 laps were of this Canadian Grand Prix. So now let's jump into the Canadian Grand Prix review. Let's start with Mercedes. And yeah, George Russell, your favorite driver.
Fuck this guy.
Well, he was flawless, clean start, perfect strategy, started from pole. It was like a perfect Mercedes weekend, which they really needed after 3 Grand Prix, because we talked about their reliability issues and they came back strong. And we predicted that probably we will see both drivers on podium. And finally, Antonelli as well on podium, man. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, so I don't want my disliking of Russell to reflect his performance, because of course he did a great job. He put in a stunning quali lap and he drove the race with a clean nose. And I think the reason why all the memes surrounding Russell and Max starting on the front row did not come true is because Max has all those penalty points and Max would be scared shitless to make any such daring attempts at Russell. So he had to let the snake go past. And many hearty congratulations to Kimi Antonelli as well for getting on the podium, which you rightly predicted, by the way. So unfortunately, the first time my prediction comes true is when a McLaren DNFs, but we'll get to that later. But
Yeah,
amazing stuff from the Italian driver, and yeah, man, it's a weekend that Mercedes desperately needed, and it is exactly this kind of a weekend that can help them get back up to P2 in the constructors. The way Ferrari leapfrogged them, they can do the same to Ferrari.
absolutely. And that's the first team after Red Bull and McLaren to win in this season. So that's an amazing achievement. And Kimi Antonelli, as we said, the third youngest driver to do it. Amazing. And that wasn't a lucky one. He did pass Piastri on lap 1, and that was a good move. And he didn't fumble when both McLarens were, close to him. And probably we will talk about McLaren because there's too much to talk about them as well. But yeah, it was an amazing thing to watch the third youngest driver to do it. And probably he won't be ready for his exams because he has his exams. That's a funny sight as well. But
I don't
amazing
think he's giving
stuff.
any exams anytime soon. I believe he's gonna get pissed drunk if he hasn't already gotten pissed drunk. So those exams are bye-bye, but he deserves to very well celebrate this podium.
Absolutely. It was much awaited, and finally he got it. And I think this was a very statement performance by Mercedes, considering we said that probably they need some low temperatures, which was not the case for this race. Probably it was, slightly cooler, but still it was hot, and probably they did show that hot performance as well in this weekend. So P1 and P3, amazing, and reliability held up for this weekend, and they desperately needed
the
that.
reliability held for 2 out of the 6 Mercedes engines that are running, or whatever number of customer teams they have, because again, we'll get to the Williams, but clearly one Mercedes engine is doomed to go itself every weekend now.
Yeah, I think that's the story. Probably they need to find answers before 2026 season starts. So interesting case, but for now they can probably celebrate and they can just say that finally that first win of the season is done. So maybe more to come. And I think the last time they did was in Vegas 2025, Vegas 2024.
Yeah.
And that was the race weekend where McLaren was not on podium. And that is what happened in this race as well. I'll probably pass this mic to you because I really want to hear your thoughts as a McLaren fan.
Man, see, look, okay, there was a reason why I said I have a gut feeling that one of the McLarens will DNF, because this track is great for battles, right? And it was more than likely that the McLarens would come together to battle on this track more than any other, because they were not having any front row lockouts after the quali. They were there and thereabouts. They were up there, not Lando. He qualified 7th, I believe, which is sad, if nothing else. I mean, the word I was looking for is shameful, but I don't want to admit that. But yeah, so it was obvious that at some point they were going to have a battle, and that's why I thought one of them was going to DNF. And if I'm being completely honest to myself and the audience, I knew it was going to be Lando, because simply between the two McLaren drivers, he seems to crack under pressure more than Oscar, right? And fine, after the post race, they also had a very hearty, my bad type of conversation. But was that a sensible move to make? Clearly, that was a door that was being shut. He could have backed out for the time being, or he could have chosen to go around the inside instead of the outside. Just not a smart move. I mean, in that case, you get what you deserve. And I'm just glad it was not a double DNF, but it feels bad for Lando, because even though Oscar only got 12 points, which is half what he would have gotten if he had won, he still managed to keep the lead between himself and Lando. And now the problem is Max has managed to catch up to Lando even more. There is not a lot of gap, and more importantly, Russell has started to catch up with Max. So slowly, what it seems like, Lando is being pushed out of the battle very slowly, and I think by the time the break comes, if Lando does not get his together, I think he is going to be very depressed and disappointed, and he'll have no one else to blame for that except for himself.
Absolutely, man. I think he misjudged the distance and just crashed straight into his teammate. That's just not acceptable. Like we say, if you no longer go for the gap, you are not a racing
but
driver.
That's not the gap you were supposed to go for, Lando,
exactly.
You imbecile.
Exactly, there was no gap, and I think that's the reason why he immediately took the blame on the radio, and he just said that it was my mistake. But yeah, as you said, that probably when it comes to Lando versus Piastri, it's just Lando is the one who is grumbling, and probably he needed more points in this race weekend, but 0 points and 12 points for Piastri. And as a whole, McLaren got 12 points, which is quick math. Very disappointing as a team, because obviously they have the fastest car, but when your own drivers take each other out, speed means nothing, man. And I think they will be disappointed. Obviously, it was bound to happen. We said that it is inevitable, considering we know both drivers are fighting at top, and that's the historic thing when the same team is, the dominant one, and both drivers are fighting for that championship. It is bound to happen, but I don't know, man. It was something that could have been avoided. But the bottom line is that Lando Norris came out with 0 points, and luckily for Piastri, he got 12 points. It could have been a double DNF there.
Yeah, and the double DNF would have just been entirely Lando's fault there, because right now, since Oscar got points, he decided to also be gentlemanly. And when Lando said it was my mistake, he said, nah, all good, I survived, my fault. But I feel like if it was a double DNF, I don't think even Oscar would have been that polite. He maybe would have just ignored. He's not someone who yells at people, but he would not have liked that, would he? And then that would have been entirely Lando's fault. I doubt if it was a double DNF, Oscar would have gotten a lot of heat for that. But absolutely, speculation aside, DNFing in this race when you're already several points down on your teammate who's doing better in equal machinery.
True, man, and the gap is just growing after every race weekend now. I thought that Monaco will boost his confidence and will boost his chances, considering it was just a 3-point gap. But I think that ship is sailing way too fast for him as well.
That ship is sailing like Titanic, honestly, for him.
And it's probably going to, go down and down if he continues to perform like this. But the sad part is, if we thought that one driver was out of the championship battle after the Spanish drama, I think he can say that I am just right there. And we are talking about Max Verstappen, because he got crucial 18 points for his team. When we said that the spotlight will be on him and he just needs to keep his nose clean, he did that. You will expect that from a 4-time world champion, even though he has 11 penalty points. But yeah, P2, I think damage limitation, when there were chances, there were moments when even Kimi Antonelli could overtake him on racetrack, and that just shows that Mercedes was the dominant car in that race. But I think P2 is a very good position for Max Verstappen, considering, Lando Norris got 0 points and Oscar Piastri only 12 points. So 6 points over Piastri and 18 points over Lando Norris. I think he would be pleased with that performance, right?
Yeah, he single-handedly managed to outscore the entire team, which is supposed to be the fastest. So, I mean, typical Max Verstappen stuff, right? And
yeah,
as much as I like to annoy the Max fans by taking a dump on him, it all comes from a place of banter, because I do have massive respect for him on the track, even if he doesn't have respect for others on the track. But that's a problem for another time. But yeah, good job keeping his nose clean and just getting through the race, and not just getting through the race, also getting a podium. So, I mean, I still wouldn't say, I would disagree with you about the championship fight. I still wouldn't go so far as to say that he's in the fight, but he's definitely trying, and you have to give him credit for that. And
yeah, he is the defending champion. He has
exactly.
He needs all the points he can get, no matter from where it comes.
And probably he's not gonna win the championship this year. More likely than not, he won't. But man, if he keeps on doing stuff like this, and if McLaren keeps making a fool out of themselves, and I generalize McLaren, but of course it's just one driver so far, but still, the point is, if he just keeps on bringing in some sort of top 5 points and one of the McLarens keeps f***ing up, I think he may have a shot in the second half of the season. At least not now, but second half of the season we may see him catching up to Oscar as well. So good stuff from him for bringing all those points for Red Bull as well, because clearly they are nowhere in the top 3 in the championship, Constructors Championship. And man, that's just sad, because Yuki is still not doing anything. Fine, he had a 10th place grid penalty and all, but still,
points again.
It doesn't look like he's doing anything special in that car, especially since when he joined the team, he went so far as to say that if I can figure out the car, I'll be battling Max. Bro, calm down. We're not there yet.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
Yeah, man. P12, I think, in this race weekend, and I think that's just 3 races in a row with no points to show. And if you thought you were planning to fight Max Verstappen, I probably thought that you will be, one less lap down at that moment, because it's very sad. Yes, you said, pointed out well that 10th place grid penalty was a bit harsh. We were not expecting it to be that harsh, considering I know it was a red flag incident and he just overtook one driver, but yeah, if you are not getting those points, and that's the reason why Liam Lawson lost his seat as well, and it's pretty much like we are at square one, where the second seat is not getting any points, and that's just sad for Red Bull as well. Yes, we know it's not the dominant car. Yes, the car is, favor towards Max Verstappen more than the second driver, but surely, man, you can extract at least 1 or 2 points if you can't match Max Verstappen, and that's just depressing for Red Bull.
Exactly, and if drivers in cars like Sauber and Haas are managing to bring in points, by the way, Chad Hulkenberg, we'll get to him, but quick shout out to Chad Hulkenberg for bringing good points again. But yeah, if those guys are bringing points in their boxes, you can't be making silly mistakes like red flag infringements, right? If you want to infringe some red flags, come to our channel. We'll let you do that,
exactly.
But then bring in points for your team. Do whatever you want to do with us.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I think, probably there's a time ticking bomb that will probably start for maybe Tsunoda as well. And I don't think anyone expected that to happen anytime soon. But I think that's the situation. Probably at this moment, maybe it's high time that probably they should bring Arvid Lindblad as a Red Bull driver instead of, just racing bulls at this moment. Because it's not working for Tsunoda as well. I don't know what they have to do to solve these issues, but they just need someone to be more supportive to Max Verstappen, and clearly this is not the way.
The only way I see forward is if they remove Max from the team. Then they might have two shit points finishes, maybe, or no points finishes with both the drivers, or you clone Max Verstappen and let two of them drive both the Red Bulls. Those are the two scenarios where you can restore some sort of balance to the universe, because how much is a man supposed to do by himself, man? Look, with all due respect, Yuki did bring in points in a couple of races, but as of now, it's back to the dojo for you.
Yeah, man, and I really don't know what I can say, but it's just looking like a jigsaw puzzle nobody wants to solve for Red Bull. I think that's the time where we should focus on another team where both drivers are getting points. Ferrari.
Pizza time.
I mean P5 and P6.
Yeah, yet again, one of the only okay, this was an exception case since given the past 3 races that both Mercedes got points. Not only that, they were both on podium, but then the trend so far had been consistency wise only the Ferrari drivers were bringing in points every season, right? Every race, right? Both the drivers. So even though of course there was a lot of disappointment in Hamilton's voice as well, because he had that damage, and given that damage he was still in decent enough points, like he wasn't in the skinny end of the points, so fine, I guess. But he's clearly not happy with his stint at Ferrari, right? Because the seat he gave up is bagging podiums now, so he's not gonna be happy.
Yeah, I think probably Lewis Hamilton sees this as an opportunity that maybe things will get better, because he did sound positive before the race. Obviously, after the race, that optimism goes down and he gets that reality check probably. But I think probably he needs to accept that maybe this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, and he will get his moments. Because let's face it, this was a track where he was doing well in qualifying as well. He did show a good lap, and I thought that maybe Canada will be that race weekend where he can extract some crucial points. But I think he was unlucky with that damage, and he was losing like 0.5, 0.6 seconds, which is huge. So there's not much I can say on that. Probably we have to wait for Austria and see how that goes for Hamilton. But overall, I think Ferrari should be happy that they got 18 points in total, but neither driver really felt in that fight. Like even Leclerc was busy doing his race, he was on a different strategy, and as we discussed about Hamilton, he had his issues. So on paper, I think it's a good result. On performance, probably not. And if Mercedes can continue performing like that, P2 will be more tricky to achieve.
Yeah, as depressing as it may be for the drivers, I think as a team Ferrari is chilling, because they're getting those crucial constructors consistency. And even though it may be tricky, you're quite right, but then I think the tricky part goes away when you realize that both the drivers will consistently be there in the points. Because firstly, as we already pointed out a number of times, Mercedes has reliability issues, and secondly, even though the rookie is a very, very desperately talented driver, it does not necessarily mean that he is going to bring in podiums every race. Because simply put, it's his first season in F1. There will be moments when he's fighting for the podium and he might make a slip up and might DNF. And then you will lose out on a big chunk of points altogether, right? Because that way you cannot just simply rely on both drivers when one of them is a rookie, no matter how talented they are. And so Ferrari, I think as a team, they're chilling hard. They have not a lot to worry about in terms of constructors, but then their drivers' mental health is through the floor, man.
Absolutely. Even Leclerc was not happy with the strategy they were going with, like plan B, plan C. I think 26 alphabets are pretty less if we talk about all the plans they want to take. But yeah, it's like they can't decide what they really want to do at this moment, and not even drivers can say that probably this is what they want, and team can say, yeah, I think you are right, and that's how we will take it. So there's that uncertainty. I don't know how they can solve.
This is a real problem, man. And you cannot just keep on slugging it out like this and keep on just tormenting your drivers like this, because like you said, for Lewis might be thinking that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, but then Leclerc has been running that marathon since day one.
And there are rumors that he can leave Ferrari. I don't think that's true, but probably those rumors will ring a bell that maybe Ferrari is not his place. And we have seen drivers like Vettel, Alonso, who wanted to win championship, but they didn't, and they decided to move on. Obviously, they didn't win on their future journeys, but when probably there will be a time when Leclerc will think that if Piastri is about to overtake him on race wins, probably Ferrari is not the right place. And we know he's so talented, and maybe he deserves one title. If he can't get many titles, but at least one title is something I see Leclerc should get. And whether Ferrari can give him that title, I'm not sure about that at this moment.
Yeah, in the 21st century alone, in the past 25 years, only 2 drivers have won a championship with Ferrari. That is Schumacher and Kimi Raikkonen. Every other driver that has hoped to get a title out of Ferrari has been hideously depressed. Seb has had his moments. Fernando has had his moments. And now it seems like Leclerc is, and I think, okay, maybe you're right, maybe he doesn't leave Ferrari and these are just rumors, but I feel like logically, if you're being a little bit pragmatic, you should leave Ferrari. You've given them enough number, you've given them over half a decade, I think. So at this point, you can leave the team and be like, listen guys, thank you for the chance, but f*** you.
But then which team he can join?
Mercedes.
Aston Martin. Oh, Mercedes.
Yeah, you want every driver to join Aston Martin only. No, your guys can't kick out Lance Stroll. You want Max to join Aston Martin, Leclerc to join Aston Martin.
I thought that it is the best opportunity to transition to Aston Martin and talk about another points finish for Fernando Alonso, because P7.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man, and probably Alonso is getting that mojo back, and probably those upgrades which, for a change is taking Aston Martin forward. Maybe Newey magic, maybe some things are getting better, but I think it was a typical Alonso drive where he made no mistakes, he got a punchy radio call, and he knew what he was doing. And it was just clean, precise, stayed out of trouble, and got the most out of that tricky car, which is tricky even now, I feel. But good stuff, and again Q3, so I think Alonso is getting that mojo back, and as an Aston Martin fan, I'm happy to see that.
Fair enough, and as not a fan of Aston Martin, I would like to remind you that the window licker at his home race did all.
Well, that was his first race where he didn't get those points. I think he scored in almost every Canadian Grand Prix apart for those races where he didn't finish, but yeah, that was a very horrible race. But an interesting point was that he got a 10-second penalty for forcing Gasly off.
Good.
That made no sense.
No, it made a lot of sense.
No, man. Come on, Piastri. For that Piastri Lando Norris incident, Lando got a 5-second penalty. I know he DNF, but 10-second penalty was a bit harsh. I'm Aston Martin fan, and I know that Lance Stroll was not going further ahead, but
okay, so your beef is with the fact that it was a 10-second penalty. You would have been fine if it was a 5-second penalty.
I'm just saying that it was inconsistent and made no sense at that moment. He was just fighting, but 10 seconds was
it was
harsh.
Not clean fighting. I mean, it was Lance Stroll flavor of fighting, where the other guy does not know if he's going to get overtake or dead. So it's fair enough for FI. I think they should have given him a 5 race penalty, if I'm being completely honest. But in that way,
that's just a biased opinion.
No.
I feel
completely objective, buddy. I'm not.
But you need some drama in F1, man. If Lance Stroll leaves, then where's the drama? Who will get that drama?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
I guess, okay, yeah, fair enough. You do need a terrorist on the grid. Right? Every season we have at least one of them. We had Gotifi a few years ago. We had Danny Kvyat a few years before that. So yeah, you do need one terrorist on the grid. But that guy, with all due disrespect. We should move on to a guy that deserves all our respect, which is f***ing Chad Nico Hulkenberg, man. Another points finish for him.
You love him, man, and I can see that enthusiasm from the way you are telling.
Yeah, it's more not so much that I'm a fan of Hulkenberg or Sauber. It's the fact that someone who does not have the equipment to get points is somehow through some black magic getting points, man. I mean, how the what are they putting in his engine? That they putting I don't know voodoo dolls in there. I don't know, man, but amazing stuff from him. I'm so happy he's dragging that box into the points. And we thought this might not be a recurring thing, and it still might. 2 is not a big enough sample size, but maybe.
Yeah, man, maybe, could be. But again, P8, and it was just another mega performance. And as you rightly pointed out, back-to-back point finishes for Sauber. Maybe this time it was a good strategy work, because I think he made that one-stop strategy work, which was not easy. It's Nico Hulkenberg we are talking about, and he made it look easy. And he just showed that great racecraft, and he's just, trying to extract absolute limit from that car, and that's just amazing to watch. And probably more points to show, when probably we thought that maybe it was just a one-off thing in Spain. So amazing work from Hulkenberg again.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Exactly. And you know what? I have just had a brainwave. You know who can be the second Red Bull driver who can bring in points consistently in a terrible car? Nico Hulkenberg. He's clearly doing it. I think they should take Nico Hulkenberg if they want something in the constructors. So,
but
Red
that will
Bull,
be a demotion for Hulkenberg, right?
that's just harsh, man. That's just harsh. But, okay, yeah, you make a fair point, but perhaps the light at the end of the tunnel for Red Bull is Nico Hulkenberg, second driver 2026.
We started this rumor.
We started, exactly. If he goes to Red Bull, I swear to God, I'm going to post this video on every dark corner of the internet to claim credit, okay? We called it first.
Yeah, we will get this patent, okay? Let's make it happen. But I think that's a very solid point, that probably maybe Hulkenberg can extract that performance. Like something which we saw when Sergio Perez joined Red Bull, and he was an amazing driver during the initial days, if we specifically talk about Perez. But you made a valid point that maybe Hulkenberg should go to Red Bull. I mean, Red Bull has nothing to lose, and probably Hulkenberg is the one who has everything to lose, considering he's getting those points for Kicksauber. And let's not forget that he wants to drive that Audi car as well. There's no confirmation whether he will get that seat, but he's showing that amazing performance. And if he continues to perform like this, I think the German team, which will become a German team in 2026, deserves that German driver. So
I just
good
wish,
stuff.
I just wish before Nico Hulkenberg retires, we get to see him on podium just once, man. Just once, because he has. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it to many newer fans, but he has put in a lot of hard work to sometimes be on that podium.
Yeah.
And for example, the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix, he was briefly leading the race, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, so he deserves to be on the podium once, man. And he's clearly the kind of driver who can extract performance out of that car. Much like, and I am a little bit disappointed because I don't like this driver either, but much like Esteban Ocon, because he too is bringing in points. And again, the pendulum effect between Haas doing call and Esteban Ocon getting points continues.
Absolutely. Like we said, probably this can be that race weekend where they will get some points, and he did. And the history tells that Esteban Ocon is really good in Canada, because he has been a regular point scorer here. And one more time with the Haas, it was just steady drive, smart strategy, and P9. And credit to Ollie Beerman as well, because he was P11, he missed those points, but once again he proved that yes, he can get those points. He just needs that his share of luck as well. But I think overall Haas would be pleased with 2 points. Again, not that many points to show, but some progress. And probably this was something that Haas would be pleased with, that considering this was their 200th Grand Prix and they were in that celebration mode, and they would be happy that they did better than Alpine. Racing Bulls and Williams, even though Williams got 1 point, right?
Yeah.
But they would be pleased, right?
Yeah, but then just 1 point out of the entire team is a little bit tragic. I mean, of course, Albon might be considering calling in a ballistic missile strike on Toto Wolff's home, given that the Mercedes engine f***ed him sideways. But a good job for Sainz, I guess. He got points, or point rather, but yeah.
He made his point.
Yeah, he made his point. But as we said before as well, I think Williams is so comfortable in the mid-table championship that they can get away with like this sometimes. And last race,
But for how long?
Fair point. I mean, I think Nico Hulkenberg alone is charging down towards them like you, P5 is ours. But
Yeah.
I don't think this can keep on going. We did say that they can around like this for a couple of races, maybe 3 races, but this does not mean you can get comfortable with the current performance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a bit of miracle considering how much he was managing the car. And as you rightly pointed out, he was P17. So P10 is a good place to finish. But we are talking about the team that looked like, they were heading for P5 in the constructors, but it's been a tough few weekends and probably they need to regroup and think that, we can't continue to perform like this and probably get a better result in Austria, because they desperately need that, especially for Albon, who was, in my opinion, was the driver of like first few races. He was P4 in Australia and he was consistently getting those points and was putting that point that I am the lead driver here. Yes, Carlos Sainz is the talented one and he will take his time to understand the car, get a bit adjust. Exactly. But things are not going in Albon's way. Yes, there was that PU issue, but initially also he was involved with Colapinto and lost. Maybe there was some minor damage and he was not happy with the strategy gamble as well, that they thought that maybe we should not pit. And he was not happy with that strategy.
Absolutely, point well made. But since you mentioned Colapinto, let's segue to Alpine. I mean, another terrible weekend. Not a lot from them. Colapinto did try to battle, and he was asked to swap positions. In fact, he was given the advantage in his team to go battle the Saubers and then make his way up to the grid if he can. He was given that chance. It didn't amount to shit. Gasly was nowhere either. I mean, congratulations to Alpine for the second weekend running to make it to our 9th point, and we have nothing to talk about because they didn't do shit in the race.
Yeah, man. I mean, I will give small credit to Colapinto because his qualifying performance was decent. But can that cement his position for maybe like next 5 races, because he this was his 4th race and Austria could be that race weekend where that ticking bomb will probably come and say, hey, you haven't done shit for this team, so what's next, what we can do? And I don't know, I won't be happy seeing Colapinto getting replaced, but he has nothing to show so far except that good qualifying position here, but P13 in this race as well.
Yeah, that being said though, he does have one more chance, and I think all he needs to do is get 10th. A single solitary point is enough to put him above Jack Doohan's performance, and technically you can claim that he's better than Doohan and he's the choice for the second driver, but that's a very slim line to hang your hopes on. But that being said, one more chance for Franco Colapinto. I do hope he makes something out of it.
Okay, now let's move on to the final team, and we are not used to seeing Racing Bulls at the last, but here we are, Hajar P16 and Liam Lawson DNF.
Yeah, specifically Hajar is who we're not used to seeing this further down in the field, because I mean Lawson has, I mean I'm trying to pick kind words here, it's why I'm pausing, because I don't want to talk him, but apart from Monaco, where has he been? Nowhere. He's in no man's land right now, and just Hajar has been doing a great job bringing in some sort of points, but nothing out of him this race as well, which is, I mean, you can't critique him too much for that because he has been consistent. So a couple of races here and there, you just discount them to poor luck or just not being suited to that track as a driver or as a car, so on and so forth. And at the same time, I mean, do we really want to discredit Lawson as well? I mean, the DNF wasn't his fault.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, that's from my side. That's all I have to say. The most diplomatic thing I could have said, that please don't hate the drivers, they're fine.
But yeah, I think that just perfectly sums up that probably Racing Bulls had no pace for this weekend. Even Haja tried, but obviously he had a 3-place penalty drop as well. But there was no performance from their end, and I think Liam Lawson had some cooling issue. Yeah, as you rightly said, there's not much we can say for Racing Bulls. I guess, yeah, that's where we can probably throw some final thoughts. And I think it was a good race weekend for as a neutral, where maybe not for you, but George Russell win, Max Verstappen holds on, and McLaren got points from one driver only. Ferrari got points with both the drivers, and the other side we saw Hulk, Ocon, and Alonso delivered again. But I think this championship is far from over, and we just can't say it's all done and dusted. One bad weekend for Piastri, and I think every driver will be back in the fight. So let's just see how it goes. I know the next race is Austria, which is always a spicy race weekend.
I mean, in 2024 as well, right? We had that moment with Max and Lando. So, would love a repeat telecast of something like that, except I would like to see Max and Russell getting into it so that they can take each other out and we can get a McLaren 1-2. Please, God, for once, let that prediction be true. But
We will take those predictions in the next video. But let us know in the comments what was your moment of the Canadian Grand Prix. I think we will get some biased comments, but we really want to hear from you as well, as we are inching closer to 300 subscribers on YouTube and almost 500 followers on Instagram as well. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the chaos. And while you are at it, we hope you really had good time and you will watch our next video as well, because we are really excited to share that video as well. So yeah, I hope you had great time, and as we always say, when the drama hits, we are waving the red flag. Goodbye.
I swear to God, if no one watches our next video, I'm gonna lose my